tell us how you got interested in what you do and why your work is so unique now to what most people would think somebody like you would be doing.
So, I got into this. So I specialize in mental health. So I look at the electromagnetic function of what's going on. So I'm looking at structure, function, electricity, magnetism, all of it. And it really just started because I was a little girl that wanted to get her father out of prison. And like, well, and I had a whole, I can fix this. I will fix all of this. I watched my mother struggling, working 3 jobs while my father was in prison, and we were, in Detroit on welfare and food stamps. And I was innately driven to fix the wounded things. I had a bug hospital in the house. And so any dead little creature or wounded creature, I was trying to operate on and trying to help them and save them and do kind of experiments. I don't know how my mother put up with it. And so being poor, you kind of, there's only so many options, like, how do I get out of here? And I was like, well, doctors that seems to be a winning formula in this country. So I'm gonna become a doctor. And it was the right choice, whether I made it for the right reasons, whether it was just from a wounded little girl being like, I'm gonna get us money one day and buy you a house, mommy. That's pretty much what it was. I'm gonna take care of you. Don't worry about it. I got it. Okay. And my dad was in prison. So I was like, if I can make enough money, I can hire a good attorney and I can get him out. That was the plan. Okay. But this is a very young decision, very little girl. So as the years went on, my brothers went on to become drug addicts, alcoholics. They went on into prison as well. So there's a lot of pain and turmoil that my childhood was full of. Our house was firebombed. I was held at gunpoint multiple times. My mother and I had to be homeless, living in our car for weeks on end while because of these things, trying to save me from the drug dealers that were after my brother, and watching her hardship, doing everything she could to try and get attorneys to save them. This is the nightmare of drugs, alcoholism, bad choices that good people, good people can make mistakes and end up in a really bad place, prison, and stripped away from families and all of that. So I was trying to save them to save my mother, in essence. Once I was in practice, so while I was in grad school getting my doctorate, my sister's son, my nephew, was diagnosed with autism. Despite my best efforts to teach her not to vaccinate, she had a husband, and there was strain in the marriage around this. So even though they delayed my nephew's schedule, he ended up damaged and autistic. And she came to me and said, "Okay, I messed up. Can you help?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, I'm around all the best people. They're teaching me. Let me reach out to the network. So through that, even though I was focused on alcoholism, drug addiction, and interested in like bipolar and suicidal ideation, anxiety and attention deficit, I got pulled into the world of autism. And I was trained by many mentors to help that were working on my nephew. And as I went down the path, and it was schizophrenia, bipolar, it's all the same. And so that's what I ended up doing. And my first job out of college before I went to grad school was at a mental health hospital working with schizophrenics. So I was drawn to that group and that community, like the throwaways of medicine. And I said, this cannot be the way this is done. I just innately, intuitively know everything can be reversed, everything can be cured, everything can be healed. You can't just throw drugs at it, numb them out, and turn them into zombies and throw them away. This is disgusting. And those are the people I wanted. You want to throw them away? Not over my dead body, not while I'm still breathing. So that's the group I wanted. Okay. So in that process, then all of a sudden now we have autism. And then I spent the next 30 years, this is all I do. So autism recovery, attention deficit, dyslexia, anything that would lead a child, because this is what led my brothers to where they were, right? Dyslexia, obsessive compulsive disorder. They were trying to regulate through self-medicating through these harmful substances because the schools and the pediatricians and the psychologists didn't even know what these things were, couldn't identify it properly, and certainly didn't know how to correct it, much less treat it safely. So that's what I started diving into, all the neuroscience around how to reverse ADHD, anxiety, dyslexia, obsessive compulsive disorder, schizophrenia, bipolar. I realized trying to help the guys in prison, trying to help them once they were there was very hard. And I had a much bigger, better chance of trying to not let the 7-year-old become a drug addict, not let the 15-year-old never cut themselves, or if they are, we can stop that dissociative behavior, get them back embodied, and get them loving themselves in their life again. So that's what I've done. And it's by working with that community for 30 years, I've seen what special needs, whatever form you want to call it, does to the parents and the women, the mothers, the level of self-sacrifice and even at many times martyrdom that overtakes them, leaves them destroyed physically, emotionally, spiritually. And it was through my work with them saying, Mom, okay, I get it. He's got autism, but we need to put a oxygen mask on you. You're drowning. This is not okay. And he's feeling everything you're going through. Like, we got to stop and help you. And I'll tell you, every time I said that, every husband in the room either did or almost started crying, practically high-fived or hugged me and said, I've been saying the same thing. Please, Dr. Rimka, whatever she needs. I've been trying to convince her. I love her and she's killing herself. And they were like, pretty much because they're lonely, they miss their wife. They madly in love with this woman, but she replaced her identity so fully as a woman, as a sexual being, as his wife, as his lover, for the mother of the sick child. And I get it's coming from their guilt and all in the shame and things. So I would come in the picture and be working with them and saying, we can't, like, you matter and let's deal with this. And always supported by incredible men holding such incredible masculine space. So through that process, as I was teaching them and coaching them and making courses for them, I realized how much I was like them. I'm like, oh boy, I'm talking to myself a lot here, you know. And when I was 45, is when it hit me like, shit, I'm closer to 50 than not. And I watched how scary that was for me. I watched myself talk about what turning 50, like, I'm old, I'm done, no one's going to want me, like my irrelevance. I'm getting, like it's all about to be over. Like, it was really interesting. And when I watched that self-talk, I said, oh no, 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 we cannot, but I didn't know those unconscious scripts were there, that 50 was some magical, you're ugly and useless. That was what an unconscious script triggered in me. So I started working at 45 very strongly on how to love and nurture myself so I could go into 50 feeling tremendous self-love and power. So that's where it started. And I know I've been talking a while, but that was the journey. And then I started writing the book at 51 or 52, I think. And then a whole chain of events changed how I finished the book.